Okay, well, we are back, and it's not a Zoe, which makes a change. So apologies for the sort of lack of videos recently. I just had so many cars I just had to crack on, and also some personal stuff going on, but it's all good. So just a couple of interesting vehicles. This is just going to be a little workshop update, but yeah, as always, if you're not subscribed, please do so. So firstly, on this Kangoo. So I saw this Kangoo on eBay. It was a sort of spares or repairs, done about 45,000 miles, and the registration number was covered up, and it was just a sort of random company name, and it was 600 quid. And I sort of thought, well, I know what the parts are worth for these. Onboard chargers and stuff are quite valuable at the moment, so I thought, well, it's got to be worth a try. So I arranged with my sort of regular truck guy to go and pick it up. He went there, and so I agreed to pay 600 quid for it. He turned up and they tried to charge him 650, and I was like, no, it's 600. They were trying to add an admin fee, 50 quid, and I was not agreeable with this plan. So I agreed to pay 600 quid for it. As far as I'm concerned, it's 600 quid. If you want a 50 quid admin fee, then it's £550 plus £50 admin fee, isn't it? It's pretty simple as far as I'm concerned. So it wasn't really far away, which kind of helps, because I said to the truck guy, you know, well, if worse comes to worse, I'll pay for your time, go home. You know, kind of matter of principle, really. But I thought they were probably fairly keen to get rid of it. And yeah, I don't like people who deal like that, basically. Don't have a lot of time for those kind of things when you turn up and it's a different price. So I rang them and they said, oh no, well, we're actually an auction and that's standard. You know, sometimes we charge a monthly fee or it's a fee per vehicle. I said, well, that's great, but nobody told me that. I rang up, agreed to pay £600, and it's £600, basically, or you can keep it. That's the options. So, yeah, in the end, basically, it was up to them. It's either 600 quid or we'll just leave it. And yeah, they sold it to me for 600 quid. So there you go. It's my van. So when it turned up, so I hadn't seen the reg on eBay because it was covered up. When it turned up, I thought, PJ67OZE, I thought that feels familiar. And I searched in my invoices, and I've had this van with me before. So late last year, I diagnosed this, and the traction battery is dead flat, basically. It's got a stuck contactor. So the big relays, high voltage relays in the high voltage traction battery pack that turn on the 400 volts, basically, one or more of those is stuck on, so the battery is permanently connected and it's just drained itself, basically slowly drained down. So the sort of power electronics under the bonnet have a constant small drain, just to like drain any capacitors to make everything safe when you switch off. But because the battery is then permanently connected to that tiny little drain, it just drains it, you know, like it's like a drip, like a tiny little crack in the bottom of your bucket. It just eventually all drains out. And I did various tests on this and proved that was the case, basically. So that you know, knowing I've done the diagnosis in the past, well, I know what's wrong with it. So I needed to find a battery. I had a hunt around. There weren't many around, but eventually did find one, which was a fair way away, but I paid a kind of man with a van to go and get it. So they loaded it. Interestingly, when he went to pick it up, they actually couldn't find it. So it took them about an hour to find it. So the guy was sitting around. Not ideal, but that is breakers for you. So I have a battery. Is that battery any good? Well, we're going to find out. It's always hard when you get a battery and you're like, well, you've got to kind of check it fairly quickly so we can go back to them. So I've got this van up in the air. It actually needs to go a little bit higher. Interesting things I've learnt since having a look at this battery. Well, the first thing is that there's a plastic tank at the back. So you see, yeah, that bit of plastic there, and then it goes round there. I thought, oh, that wasn't on the charity one that I did before. Now I thought, hang on a minute. Interesting feature for an electric van. And this is, you know, it's electric ZE33. So what this has is it has the optional diesel heater. So normally with these vans, the cabin heating is a wet loop because it was made as a fossil van, and so it uses engine coolant. So we obviously don't have an engine. So in the electric ones, what you normally have is like a kettle, effectively like a kettle in a box that just heats some of that water in a little coolant loop. This one has the optional diesel heater, and there it is with its little exhaust. So I thought, oh, you know, that's a quirk, little diesel van. But when I started taking this apart, this morning. This is one of these sort of cover panels at the back of the battery, and it's absolutely filthy. And it shouldn't be like that. It should just be kind of dusty, but this has really got dust stuck to it. You see this kind of effect sometimes where you get like a brake fluid leak, or you know, any kind of oil leak. It just brings all the dust into a paste, basically. Instead of just being dust, it sticks it all together. So yeah, this electric van has the interesting feature of a diesel leak. And basically we can look right under. So this is the diesel tank there. Hard to get the light in, but you can sort of see, you may be able to see around it. Does it go up to, oh yeah, so sort of up to about, let's get everything in the right, up to about there. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see the edge of that. You see it's had a diesel leak, and it's actually leaked all over the battery. So you can see that battery's quite grubby. It's actually slightly more visible from the other side. Let's just put it on the other side. So we know this traction battery is dead flat. There you go, look, traction battery with diesel all over it. So this battery is dead flat, and it's covered in diesel. And the interesting thing I know about the lids on these batteries is when I did the charity one, I don't know if I mentioned it in the video, but when I was refitting the lid, the fitment was really poor. So you start putting in some bolts and you find that at the other end, the bolts don't really line up. And they were similar on the two sort of batteries, the original one and the replacement one, that you would get like a ripple in the metal because the bolts, the lid just wasn't quite right fitment. It was just a poor fit, really. So what I did was I actually took the lid back off of that van and got my drill, and I just ovaled a couple of the holes just to make the holes line up without deforming the lid slightly, because that's what was happening. It was deforming, and then there was a little gap just because it was kind of squidging it up. So knowing how poorly these lids fit, and the fact this one's covered in diesel, it's quite possible that there's diesel inside this traction battery. So I wasn't really going to bother taking the lid off because it's got a lot of flat cells and stuck contactor, but I'm kind of fascinated as to what's actually gone on inside there. Has it actually got a quantity of diesel in it, and what has that kind of done to it? So yeah, interesting. Yeah, so while I'm changing the traction battery, I'm going to have to fix a diesel leak. So presumably, you can see there, it's kind of gone up the side. There's a bit of a tide mark. Yeah, presumably I'm going to have to get that diesel tank out. I don't know if it's got any diesel in it or if it's all leaked out or what. But yeah, I didn't really sign up for to fix diesel leaks, but the van's up in the air. I'll probably take that spare wheel out and take that diesel tank out, I guess. I might as well do it now. Well, I think what I'll probably do is get the other battery, get it up and loosely bolted in, connected up, and make sure the vehicle fires up, because there's no point spending, you know, loads of time fixing the diesel leak if then I've got a dead battery and I can't find another battery, like my replacement one's no good. So yeah, we might as well just make sure the battery's good, and then we'll have a think about the diesel tank. I don't know how to fix a diesel leak. I've never done it before, but it's all new experiences, I suppose. But I don't want that happening to my replacement battery. That's no good. Absolutely no good at all. So yeah, that's quite funny. Another interesting vehicle here. There's a little bit of wind, so you can hear me. Is this Zoe? So 22 plate Zoe. It's actually the Zoe van version, so it doesn't have any rear seats. I think it's unlocked. Yeah. So it's got this kind of cage in the back and a flat bottom there. And it's displaying one of its interesting features. So this car, van, whatever you want to call it, has some electrical gremlins. So you can see the hazards have just started going off. That is actually the alarm. It was blaring the siren as well, but I have located and disconnected the sounder because I was having to work on the vehicle literally with ear defenders on. It was ridiculous. But yeah, it's a Renault feature that basically the normal Zoe, it just has its standard kind of immobiliser system. But when Renault produced like a commercial vehicle, they put an additional alarm on it. So even though this is based on a Zoe car, because it's now a commercial vehicle, it's got an alarm. And this vehicle has some electrical gremlins, and basically the alarm keeps repeatedly going off. So yeah, it's now on charge, but just opening the door, the alarm's gone off. If you crack the bonnet, or you jump in it and start it, the alarm will go off. But you can drive it with the alarm going off, because it's kind of a bit of an afterthought. It's very strange. Similarly with these Kangoos, these have an alarm as well, and it's a real afterthought. And I've had a bit of fun and games. It's actually located there, the alarm unit. Yeah, this is one of the supply wires for the alarm, and they're quite often like this. They're just like tagged on, really badly fitted, and this one is obviously just pulled out. But it doesn't matter because it's not really integrated into the vehicle. It's kind of like an aftermarket alarm that you don't really need. So yeah, this one was driving me absolutely mad because that would be blaring, and it is ear splitting. It took me quite a bit of time to locate that sound up, but I did eventually find a reference to a connector, or well, there was two connectors, and one I knew what it was, and the other one I thought, there's not normally anything there. And that's kind of what I was looking for. I was kind of looking for something. I'd had the bumper off and looked behind it, and yeah, all sorts. The other amusing thing with this vehicle, so this was serviced by Renault just before it came to me, and one of the things I was doing was I had this wheel off to look behind here, basically, for a specific reason. But when I took the wheel off, this spanner was on the brake bleed nipple. So there is a Renault tech who's lost a 9mm spanner, and the guy did say it was a bit rattly when I picked it up from Renault. So yeah, that can stay in there. But dear, I took a photo of it, but I don't know if I can insert that into this video. But yeah, there was literally a spanner on the brakes. Mental. So yeah, the other thing that this car or van, whatever you want to call it, has an issue with, as well as the alarm, is charging. So sometimes when you plug it in, it just says AC charging impossible, and it says it straight away when you plug it in, and it's got a fault code for the filter module, which is that first module under the bonnet. But then sometimes it works absolutely fine. So right, so the filter module is this one under here. Sorry if that whining noise is really coming through, but yeah, so the charging socket, that wire wiggles around, and then that is literally the other end of the socket, so that the other end of the type 2, so the power mains is coming into here, and then that's the charging filter, and it's got a fault code for an internal issue with that. Obviously it's working right now, but it's 50-50, but only really when it's been raining. So I suspect this vehicle has got some water ingress somewhere. So with these ZE50s, basically this is the charge and control module, and that is kind of there mainly for CCS, but it also has a hand in the sort of AC charging. So when I get a second, and I'm just having a good look at the moment, yeah, when I get a second, I will just check that module for any water ingress, albeit that would have nothing to do with the alarm. So it's all a little bit strange, really, but yeah, these kind of cases can be difficult. But you sort of just got to pick an angle. You know, we either sort of pick the charging issue or the alarm issue and investigate that. We may well find a connector or some wires or a component which has sort of got water ingress, and that'll probably be the cause of both. But yeah, this vehicle was absolutely driving me mad. And obviously, yeah, just with the indicators going off and the alarm and whatever. Yeah, just really difficult to work on. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Two little interesting projects. But yeah, the other thing I've been working on is the G-Wiz has had a battery upgrade, and yeah, I will yeah, let's have a look at that. Okay, so a quick note on the G-Wiz batteries. So these are the batteries that Going Green kind of threw together for me. There's actually 3 different types. There's the sort of classic Trojan T125. I was hoping there'd be a label there, but yeah, just a label here. There we go. So these are the kind of original G-Wiz type. These are 200 amp hour, 6 volt. So I've got 3 lead acid cells inside this battery. These are, you know, the original, more expensive, but can take more abuse type. And this is kind of classic system you have on a forklift truck. UASA, you have to treat those a little bit more gently, evidently, but a bit cheaper. And then there's another make there, don't know too much about that one, but these are just some batteries they threw together for me. They did work, but they were quite low on charge, especially some of them, and a couple of them the voltage just didn't want to come up, so it was sitting at about 6.6 and would just basically warm up as I put current into it, and I was having to bleed current off the other ones and just trying to get enough current into them. You can look down into the cells when you take these caps off, and I'll do that if people are interested, and they're kind of fairly sulfated, don't look great, but that's kind of what I expect, because this is an old pack and this G-Wiz is just for use around the field, so not a big issue. However, trying to get some charge into them, I bought a bigger charger, which is this one, just an Amazon special, but does sort of, yeah, up to 14 amps. So I was using that, I was pushing about 12 amps into them, so I could do them individually, because it can do its 12-ish, 14 at 6 volts, which is good. But one of the batteries, just that voltage just would not come up. It had, it's got a pulse repair, all this kind of stuff. The voltage wasn't coming up. It was warming up a bit. That was about it. I was kind of thinking, should I have got like a Noco or Noco, whatever you call them. They do a 10 amp Noco Genius. Should I have got one of them? And then I went to check on the car and I got that like egg sulfur smell, and I thought, yeah, that battery's no good. And it was one of the black ones, one of the UASA ones. I took off the caps, obviously let the car vent, and then took off the caps, put the charger back on, and 2 of them were bubbling, and the other one, nothing was happening. So yeah, that cell was just no good. I'm not a massive fan of these wet lead acids, if I'm honest. I mean, they obviously have their place. They're an industrial battery, but this is now a kid's car for the field. So not an ideal scenario. I was having to take the seats out to faff around with them. The kids want to use the G-Wiz. So I really needed another solution. So I've got these batteries. These are AGM batteries, which is nice. They're sealed. So no venting, no gas, no acid, none of that kind of stuff, which is nice. These are obviously a lot smaller because these are 12 volt. I mean, they are a lot smaller physically. But realistically, these G-Wizes from new would do 40-ish miles. I don't need anywhere near that. 3 laps around the field and home for tea. So I've got these AGM batteries. These are 55 amp hour at 12 volts. So bearing in mind the originals are 200 amp hour at 6 volts. These are a quarter of the capacity, albeit a much better technology. Albeit again, I don't need massive capacity. This is 2 kilowatt hours effectively, and that should be absolutely plenty. In a Zoe, albeit you wouldn't want to probably use all of the 2 kilowatt hours, but let's say 1 kilowatt hour in a Zoe, you could do 4 miles. I mean, if I'm using 1 kilowatt hour in this G-Wiz at low speed around the field, probably get 10 miles. It's more than plenty. Also, the charger I bought, which was a 5 amp 48 volt charger, will be compatible with these. I could have used modules from the Kangoo. 2 modules would have done quite well. But then you've got to get a lithium charger, you've got to get a lithium balance system, and this is just simple. I don't need amazing performance, I just need something simple that works, and that's what this is. These had another pressing benefit, and that benefit, I'll just show you the label if I can, just in case anyone's interested. That's what they are. There we go. The other benefit is these were 20 quid each. Basically, they're a couple of years old. Someone's used them for solar storage. There's actually 5 of them, but these are the 4 that are kind of matched in voltage. The other one's a little bit higher. But, this just easy, it's cheap, and it should do what I want. No hydrogen vented into the cabin. No worrying about the old batteries, and because you have to take the seats out, and that's kind of awkward. Yeah, I kind of was getting a bit fed up with that, and so were the kids. So basically, excuse me, just getting these set out. Obviously it's a lot smaller. I debated whether to put 2 over this side and 2 over the other side, but they fit quite nicely there. There's a little ridge in the middle, so I've put a bit of wood in, so then I can put a strap on it, and it's just kind of holding them together. They're not going to fall out. Just whatever bits of wood kind of, made them fit. You don't want them sliding around. That fits quite well. So just sorting out the wiring. So this is the main positive that normally goes onto the first battery here, and then this is your main negative. So it normally goes kind of round, across and back, I think, something like that. And then this kind of is on here. So main positive and negative. Obviously my positive is a little bit far away, but I've got plenty of cabling now. So basically I just need to bolt this together, which does really good. I just can't do it with one hand. Yeah, bolt that together. So I've got my positive, and I was just setting out little cables. So I'm just going to loop that one around there, loop that one over there, loop that one around there, and then I've got plenty on my negative to go onto there. So yeah, I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to use some of the original balance leads. Now that sounds a little bit weird because I'm not using the original charger, so I'm not going to be doing a balancing phase, what they call your equalization, where they overcharge those wet lead acids and then monitor them and then top them up afterwards. So I'm not going to be doing any of that, but I wired in, behind all this mess, I wired in connectors so that I can top up each battery individually to sort of manually balance charge them, basically, and also to monitor the voltage. So I made up a little lead just with this one of these £5 multimeters, just so that I can keep an eye on the voltage and balance them if necessary. So I may as well reuse that. So I labelled all my balance leads. Obviously I'm not going to need all of them, so only 4 of my plugs will work, but that's just for my 4 batteries, and I can do a little bit of 12-volt charging. Just keep an eye on the voltage. And that is that. The other thing I've ordered is a 48-volt, just little like battery gauge. It doesn't do anything complicated, no column counting, sort of amp hour counting or anything like that. It's just going to do voltage, and just put it up there, a little bit of voltage display, and yeah, just something to just show us how we're doing basically on the pack. So yeah, I'm going to get these wired up and I can get the seats back in and the kids can use the car, and yeah, we'll have some fun. All right, cheers. Okay, we are wired up. So just to show you the kind of final configuration before I cover this up with the seats and with the massive plastic tray thing that goes over them there. So got these where they were, got them wired up now. So the positive, I had a little lead, but there's a little kind of dip down here in that tray, you can see there. So that's going to come down here, so this kind of needs to be out of the way. So I've used a slightly longer positive, just bolted and taped that up, absolutely sufficient. And I've got my balance leads wired up, so I've just used the first 5 effectively, because I need, obviously I've got 4 batteries, but you've got to have kind of the start and the end. So I've got the main, what was on the positive, and then the next 3, basically next 4 even, to make my 5, because obviously I've got effectively what would be the positive for the next battery, but it's not, because that's my end, albeit I've obviously got half the batteries, but same voltage. So you've got my 48 volts here, and the proof of the pudding is whether the car is happy. So I'm just going to turn the key and we can listen over here. There we go. So that's my main contactor. So the car is happy. I mean, it's seeing a reasonable voltage basically. It doesn't care that the balance leads aren't, some of them aren't connected. That really is just for that equalization charging phase where it sort of overcharges. Shouldn't have to worry about that. I've tested my little balance leads, my little monitoring leads, and they work absolutely fine. So I am happy with that. I just need to check whether this kind of goes round far enough. I might just unbolt that and push them around a tiny little bit more and loosen it a little bit, but that should do me. I should be able to put these seats on and not take them out again, which is nice, because they're not, it's not, yeah, it's not a particularly nice shot. It's really awkward, everything you do in here, because it's low, everything is like leaning over. So yeah, everything's a bit awkward, but yeah, this is what I want, basically maintenance free, and that should do me. So yeah, I'm gonna keen to get this back together, and then the kids can have a go with it. So that is that. Yeah, a couple of interesting things just while we're here. One of them is this wraps around the batteries and it's got a little wire going onto it. I wondered if it was like a heating jacket, but that's not enough for heating. Really low power heater, but then it's massive, so, but it is padded. I think it is a heater because it's got wires in it, but I mean, what kind of power is going through that? Don't know, but then maybe it's 48 volt. So you don't need a lot of current, but you can get a reasonable amount of power. Don't know. 48 volts at push an amp through that. I don't know, half an amp. Yeah, don't know. Answers on a postcard. Another interesting feature, there's a fan down here, a duct in there. I don't know if you can about see that fan. Presumably just to exhaust any hydrogen, because when you do the equalization charge, you are boiling off the acid. You are making hydrogen. Which obviously is not ideal in a confined space. So yeah, when I've been charging this, because I'm not using the original charger, so it wasn't running that fan, I've just been cracking the windows a little bit sort of thing. But that is a thing of the past now. I've got my new batteries, and I don't need to worry about hydrogen being vented anymore. We've come into the AGM era. We'll probably move from the 1800s to the 1900s or something. But yes, that was probably vastly out, but I don't care anyway. So yeah, you can flame me in the comments. All right, cool. Well, that is good. And yes, back to the original video. Cheers. Well, we can see this in all its glory now. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, not too good. It's definitely been leaking on it. It's undeniable, isn't it? There's a slight dent in the case now, but I just did that, so don't worry about that. But this battery's dead, so yes, not taking particular care with it. Let's get this lid off. I wasn't really going to bother because I thought this has just got stuck contacts, and yeah, and it you know, the cells are just flat inside. It's no good. Probably is no good, but I'm really interested to see if there's diesel inside it. So yeah, I'm just going to gun this off, and then we'll see what's inside. Right, let's do it. So just part way through taking this off, I just thought I'd pause because I've still got a few bolts in here I've not undone. But if I go round to this side, you can see the alignment here is really poor. So that's what I was talking about the alignment of the lids. They're just not quite good enough, and as you do up those bolts, it's just pushing it slightly. The other one that I did for the charity, the lid was a lot worse than that. It was really sort of creasing it, and I had to adjust them. But yeah, this one's a little bit poor, but not too bad. But yeah, right, I'm going to finish getting this off. Right, so lid off, not too exciting really, is the answer. You can see there's a little bit of diesel inside the seal there. So it has penetrated, but it's not down and around it, nothing too excited. I think we can kind of say that diesel leak was unfortunate, and as the vehicle will be used more, would potentially cause an issue, but is not really the fault with this battery pack, although there is a little bit of diesel ingress. This is the fault here. So this is the contactor pack. The wiring on these is really simple. There's a master fuse, but effectively the power from the battery is connected through the fuse to the output. So you've got your positive and negative out there. And then the other side goes onto this contactor pack. So this is your big fat relays. And if I can do this with one hand, possibly. And I'm not wearing my gloves because this battery pack is literally dead. Hold on a second, I'm just gonna set this up. Right, so I've just wedged that in one side. So these are the big fat relays basically that turn this main battery on and off. So this battery obviously is not being commanded to be on right now, so there should not be continuity through this. But I've wedged one in one end, and then if I wedge that in the other end, the meter says 1 ohm. So there's a dead short straight through here basically. And yeah, that can happen sometimes, but that's the original fault. So then these batteries have gone dead flat, so we can do a little voltage test just to make sure, because these buzz bars have got little test points. We've got millivolts, we've got like kind of nothing. If I just get these a little bit more, so I'm really pushing them down just for, yeah, minus half a volt. No, that's 0.9 of a volt, isn't it? So yeah, there's like a tiny little bit of power in here, but realistically nothing. These are sort of dead flat. I mean, they've been flat for a long time as well, so I don't think they'll recover any usable energy. Now I've got the lid off. Are there any usable parts in here? There's a fuse under here, but I mean, I've got a whole pack's worth of stuff anyway. Probably if you're doing like an EV conversion, this stuff's quite useful. You can have a battery load of buzz bars and stuff. That BMS is potentially useful because that was the fault with the previous van Kangoo that I did. But yeah, the rest of it is just dead weight. And that is one of the interesting, sort of difficult things, as the plane goes over, at the moment, is now I've got 300 kilos of lithium batteries, and apparently these lithium batteries, you know, contain elements that are hard to get out of the ground. You know, there's a lot of carbon, a lot of industry, a lot of effort's gone into sort of getting these batteries into this state. But when it comes to recycling, I've tried to find companies who can recycle these batteries. There's a couple of companies, I'm just going to let this plane go over. Yeah, and there's a couple of companies that do lithium battery recycling. But to recycle a battery like this, they're quoting me for the transport and for the actual physical act of recycling the battery. They're quoting me about £1,000. It's just like completely unworkable. But is it valuable or not? I mean, it's just a really, really strange thing. Just having a look around the battery, you can actually see. So if you look there, you can see where that's bowed upwards. So they've just got like pouch cells inside here, and they, if I stop doing it, if I go like that, yeah, those cells inside there are expanding because they're dead flat and they don't like being dead flat. So yeah, this battery's toast. It's got diesel inside it as well, just for added insult really. But yeah, all right, cool. Well, that was interesting. It's not swimming with diesel, but still, it's not great, is it? Yeah, interesting. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to get the other battery pushed in, get it, yeah, get it sort of wired up and make sure the van fires up. And we'll see what happens next. Yeah, cool. And presumably then if the van works, I'll fix the diesel leak. We've got to do it that way around. I might have to make a few phone calls about what you do about diesel leaks though. But yeah. Okay, cool. Right, let's see if it works. My replacement battery, oh, we've got some glare there, that's better. It's just literally sat on the floor, but it's got the comms wire over there, that one, a couple of plugs, the high voltage there, and it's got the fuse in. And turn the van on. And yeah, let's turn the light on. Hold on, that's better. Yeah, it's gone green. That's really, yeah, not very clear, I know, apologies. We've got the light coming in from the front. But yeah, the van is basically happy, showing just over 3/4. So yeah, that's not too bad, is it? That's not too bad. But yeah, the van just fired straight up. So yeah, I'm happy with that, 42,900. And I just need to keep an eye on this basically and listen to the contactors and just make sure it's all good. We could do that now actually. If we switch it off, we can hopefully hear. There was just a donk there. You may hear. Actually, if I just put you on top of the battery, you'll be able to hear the contactors. Hold on. And then I'm going to switch it off. Hopefully that was audible. But yeah, that battery seems good. Certainly fires up. It's got a couple of corroded bolts here. There's like a bracket here. Yeah, this one. This little bracket. So we'll have to look at that. But that is just to kind of protect that really. So I'll have a look at that. It has got a couple of bolt holes at the top. So yeah, might be able to get them out. I'll have a look at it. But yeah, that one is all good. So it seems like another one bites the dust. I was also having a look at the pipes on the diesel heater. No, that's probably not really what you're here for, but you know, it is an electrical vehicle. So let's have a diesel heater. So yeah, this looks like just level sensor, and then this is the actual output pipe, and this bit has broken off basically by the look of it. So this is the sort of output, and the ridged bit in the middle kind of should be in there on that round bit, but it's broken off. So yeah, I wonder if Renault Parts can find me one of those units. We'll see. Anyway, cool. Hope that was all interesting. I will get this Kangoo back together once I've had my lunch. It sounds like the rain's starting. But yeah, cool. Right. Sort out my diesel heater as well at some point. But that is all good. All right, cool. Any questions, let me know. But it seems like this Kangoo is going to be back on the road. I will catch you later. Thank you for watching. Cheers.